Yo, is Even right or is Russ right? Russ has 4.8 million followers and he's the second highest independent artist in RIAA history. He also gives really good advice to independent artists. For example, Russ paved the way for the idea of being consistent and just dropping once a week on SoundCloud as a way to break through. He's also real heavy on the philosophy of if the music doesn't hit, nothing else will work, which I completely agree with. The biggest problem with Russ's advice, though, is it's from a different era. Russ blew up in 2015. That was the peak of SoundCloud, and it was before TikTok became dominant. So even though Russ does speak from a place of wisdom, he also speaks from the place of an artist who's already successful and blew up 10 years ago when the landscape was completely different. Russ's take on Even is that although their marketing language says they get rid of the middleman, they actually are just becoming the new middleman with a 20% take rate. The core of what Russ is saying, which is that the take rate is too high, is true, but it's nuanced. Even isn't the only platform that markets itself as D2C, but has a high take rate. Bandcamp charges 15%. Patreon charges 10%. Platforms need to charge fees to operate their service. And for smaller markets like independent music, it's really unfair to compare their business model to a platform like Shopify, which was built to service the mass market of all of e-commerce. Shopify takes a 3% fee on hundreds of billions of dollars of volume. Even takes a 20% fee on way less. I had a conversation with Bandcamp this year, who's the market leader in direct-to-consumer music, and they do about 80,000 transactions a day. If you do the math, that works out to be millions of dollars a year, not billions. Without fees, we'd have no direct-to-consumer music platforms. Russ's argument against Even is that it's more efficient to set up your own website to sell music from. Of course, for Russ, this is true. Russ can bring more traffic to a platform than a platform can bring to Russ. Russ is a platform. If he sold a $15 album direct-to-consumer, he could sell 35,000 copies, which is over $500,000. 20% of $500,000 is $100,000. So to Russ, saying, why would I give $100,000 to Even when I can set up my own website, makes complete sense. But the average artist on Even is making like a few $1,000s per drop. Paying $200 on $1,000 made is nothing like paying $100,000, which is what Russ will be doing. The bigger point here isn't the fee, it's the entire model. When Russ says you could bypass this and set up your own website, what he's really saying is you should own your own platform. Even's response, which is we're not the middleman, we're the infrastructure, is essentially Russ's point. We, the artists, bring all of our traffic to your platform and you own the infrastructure, which is the same thing that's been happening to artists on repeat forever. It's essentially saying we're the owners, you're the users. What we actually need is a vision of the future that both artists and supporters believe in. And it involves three things: ownership, distribution, and incentives that are 10 times better than the previous model. Artists don't want to just use platforms, they want to own them. This is why Joe Budden's direct-to-consumer play on Patreon is so smart. He's not just using Patreon, he owns a stake in the company. And that equity might end up being worth more than the money he's making from using the tool. Artists absolutely need distribution. This is the piece Russ is missing because he's such a big artist. Whatever Russ says gets global reach. That's not the world most independent artists live in 2026. If you drop on your own website, chances are you're alone. You can't realistically grow as an independent artist without the network effect of peers bringing traffic to your music in a shared marketplace. And last, there has to be an incentive for the consumer that's 10 times better than Spotify. Otherwise, the whole thing fizzles out. Technology revolutions are always paid for by the consumer. This conundrum is exactly why I built Share on blockchain. For example, here's my song Light Show. It's on Share, which is a platform that I own. But wait, here's the same song on a different platform that's open source, which you can own because it's decentralized. I get the ownership and control that Russ is talking about, but I also get the distribution and the benefit of my song showing up in other people's platforms who might have more reach than me. And because the underlying technology is smart contracts, consumers can own a percentage of the music, giving them an incentive to discover artists on a new platform. This is a 10x improvement because supporters can actually own assets and make money, which was the only thing missing from the previous model. What do you think though? Who's right?